This is a guy that Terence Crawford's taking on, really, that's just a lot bigger, a lot stronger. He's got more experience, and listen, boxing fans would want to see, especially boxing purists. It's going to be Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. It's got to be all day long. I mean, Terence Crawford is just...
Boxing legend Froch stirs the pot with a bold claim that Canelo Alvarez is washed up ahead of a potential super fight with Terence Crawford. The common belief among most boxing insiders is that Canelo holds the upper hand against Crawford simply because of his natural size advantage. Alvarez is a seasoned super middleweight, currently fighting at 168 pounds, while Crawford has spent the majority of his career as a welterweight at 147 pounds, only recently moving up to 154. Though the size difference might not seem overwhelming at first glance, those experienced in boxing understand how significant even a few pounds can be at the elite level. In a sport where weight classes exist for a reason, the physicality and power Canelo brings could pose serious problems for Crawford.
Crawford has been active, and he's been a champion his whole career. You know, that's something you got to give Crawford for. You got to give Crawford his flowers. He's really been a champion since 2012. You know, has never not been a champion, so he has the champion's mindset. He is going up to 168, so that's a steep hill to climb. You know, I mean, he has the tools, but I think Canelo's gonna. My personal opinion, I think Canelo's going to be too much for him.
Still, not everyone is sold on this narrative. Froch, a former super middleweight champion himself, shared a contrasting viewpoint. He noted that Crawford is bigger than people think and argued that the Omaha native can grow into the 168-pound frame with the right training. Froch pointed to Crawford's skill, adaptability, and grit, stating that he has what it takes to beat anyone, Canelo included. Froch's belief is grounded in the idea that although size matters, skill can outweigh physical advantages when it comes to elite-level competition.
Is the fact that this fight's made at 168 pounds. My old weight division, super middleweight, he's been down as light as lightweight. When he beat Ricky Burns, that was at lightweight. I'm going back 10 years, but just gives you some idea of where he started his career. He beat Ricky Burns at lightweight. He beat Errol Spence for the undisputed welterweight world champion. That's Errol Spence. Remember, he beat Kell Brook, and Kell Brook actually fought Terence Crawford after that. So Spencer softened him up, fractured his eye socket. Then he fought Crawford. Crawford beat Kell Brook, who's, what was that, at 147, like welterweight. So, I mean, he's quite a small guy. I interviewed him last week, and he's put, what is he, 5'9", 5'10". No, Canelo Alvarez isn't that tall.
Canelo's recent performances have fueled debates about whether he's still in his prime. Froch highlighted this, pointing out how lackluster Alvarez looked in his last fight. He emphasized that Canelo no longer seems motivated unless the stakes are massive. Froch implied that Alvarez appeared disinterested, opting for safe strategies that ensured a win on the scorecards rather than chasing an impressive finish.
This is a guy that Terence Crawford's taking on, really, that's just a lot bigger, a lot stronger. He's got more experience, and it's an exciting fight, and I can't wait to see how Crawford attempts to deal with Canelo Alvarez up at this weight. It's going to be fascinating, because you would think on paper he's just not big enough, and he's obviously that good. He will obviously make a fight of it. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Canelo Alvarez is a strong favourite. And I wouldn't have thought that Terence Crawford would have put himself in a position like that late on in his career, going in with somebody who's far bigger than him naturally. And on paper, it looks like he wouldn't have a chance because of that size differential. But
according to Froch, these signs point to a fighter who might be past his peak and simply looking to cash in before retirement. With over 60 professional fights under his belt and a career filled with lucrative paydays, Froch questioned why Canelo is even still competing, especially when faced with a dangerous challenge like Crawford.
Would you say that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford's the biggest fight? Two of the biggest names in boxing, that's for sure. And Terence Crawford's unbeaten. Obviously, we know what Canelo Alvarez is all about. We know what he's done. If he retired tomorrow, then he'd go down as an ultimate, like one of the best to ever do it. And so it's big. I mean, you've got to try and compare it with something. What we're going to compare it with? Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. That's obviously a big fight for the Brits. We all want to see it. It's probably quite big in America as well.
Adding fuel to the fire, Froch didn't hold back when talking about how dangerous this matchup could be for Canelo. He believes it's entirely possible that Alvarez could lose despite being the favorite. In his eyes, a Crawford victory wouldn't even be a major upset given how many fans and analysts already think Bud has what it takes to pull it off. Froch praised Crawford's mental strength, calling him a tough, confident fighter with a sharp boxing IQ. He also acknowledged that Canelo's ring experience and mastery of the sport are second to none, making this matchup all the more intriguing.
America, I really don't. Although the Brits do want to see it because of the history of Ben Eubanks. So out of all the top fights that potentially could happen that I would want to see, and I'd think that boxing fans would want to see, especially boxing purists, it's going to be Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. It's got to be all day long. I mean, Terence Crawford is just an unbelievable talent, and we've never seen him beat. So when there's somebody who's unbeaten, you always want to see how they're going to cope with somebody who's potentially got a massive favourite. We saw what happened to Amir Khan when he stepped up from welterweight. He got absolutely ironed out. But that's sometimes what happens if somebody's smaller coming up to a bigger weight division. They get clips on the chin. They're not used to taking that punch power. And up at light middleweight.
On the other side of the spectrum, another boxing legend, Shane Mosley, has voiced strong doubts about Crawford's chances. Mosley warned that Canelo's size and power are serious concerns, especially given Crawford's aggressive fighting style. He argued that Crawford isn't a natural mover, which could work against him in this matchup. According to Mosley, Crawford might try to trade punches with Canelo instead of sticking and moving, and that could be a costly mistake. He emphasized that if Crawford chooses to stand his ground, Canelo's power could easily become a deciding factor.
I think Canelo's too big for Crawford. I think Canelo's too big for Crawford. I think that the reason why, if Crawford was a mover like the rest of the fight, then maybe he can have a good chance with Canelo. But I think that being that Crawford is a fighter, that's gonna be dangerous. That's gonna be his problem. He's a fighter. He wants to fight. He's gonna move a little bit, but his heart is not in moving. So he's gonna have to sit there and fight with Canelo. If you sit there and fight with Canelo, and he's that much bigger than you, then I don't know. But everybody thinks, Crawford, he's a great boxer, he's this, he's that, which he is. He's a great fighter. And
Shane Mosley appears genuinely worried about Crawford's chances at 168 pounds, suggesting that the fighter will need to adjust his game plan significantly to succeed at the higher weight. In Mosley's view, Crawford didn't look particularly dominant even at 154 pounds, and making another leap up the scale might be a challenge too great to handle.
I think he's a great fighter at 140, 47, and he seems just to be, good at 54. Now we're going to 68.
Amir Khan, who has faced both fighters in the ring, added his perspective as well. Khan suggested that Crawford may actually have an easier time against Canelo than many expect. He believes that if Crawford can avoid getting caught by one of Canelo's signature power shots, he could outbox the Mexican star with relative ease. Khan explained that while Canelo does possess frightening knockout power, he's been less dangerous in recent years, with no stoppage wins in nearly 4 years. Khan contrasted his experiences against both fighters, stating that he found it easier to land clean shots on Canelo, while Crawford's defensive prowess made him far harder to hit.
It's a hard fight to call, Canelo Crawford, because Crawford is a big guy as well. I mean, I normally would say Canelo because he's a bigger guy, but and normally he's bigger than his opponents and he puts on the weight well. And when I fought him, he was much heavier and bigger than me. But then again, when I fought against Crawford was as big as Canelo. But I just don't feel that Crawford hits as hard as Canelo. Canelo hits very hard. I mean, his power is, his power is like unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you watch the fight and you see.
Yeah.
Well, with Crawford's got power. Don't get me wrong, Crawford's got amazing power. But the thing is that it's not that knockout power that Canelo has. Now, you have to understand, I fought Canelo 10 years ago.
That said, Khan also admitted that Canelo's punching power is still a massive X factor. He suggested that even if Crawford is winning on the scorecards, a single power shot from Alvarez could change the tide of the fight. While Khan sees Crawford as the superior technician, he respects the game-changing power that Canelo brings and views it as a built-in escape route should the fight start slipping away from the Mexican.
But I do lean more towards Canelo in this one, even though Crawford's a very close friend of mine and helped me in my training camp for my last fight. But it's a hard fight to call because both fighters are at the top of the game. I think it's something that boxing's not seen for a very, very long time, where you've got two fighters. It's hard to say who's going to win. it is a 50-50 fight. Is it skill or power that's going to win, or is it skill or speed that's going to win the fight? We don't know, so let's see.
And just finally...
I'm definitely going to be there, though.
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
you guys are going to be there as well.
There's a possibility that Chris Eubank Jr. could find himself in the ring with the winner of that. I mean, should that be his focus? How do you think he'd fare, or would you like to see a...
Meanwhile, Jim Lampley reflected on Canelo's past bout with Floyd Mayweather, expressing hope that the Mexican star has taken valuable lessons from that experience. He emphasized Canelo's outstanding skill set and impressive track record, noting his consistent success and the fact that he's never been knocked out. Lampley believes Canelo will be a serious challenge for Crawford in this matchup.
Canelo's smart. Absolutely, he's smart. He knows this business as well as anybody. So no, it's not surprising that Canelo learned from Floyd and has employed some of that in the retention of his career. Canelo still knows how to make fireworks when he absolutely has to make fireworks. But at the end of the day, he's a counterpuncher. He's a great defender. He has the most solid punch resistance of anybody in the sport. Nobody's ever knocked him off balance. Nobody's ever really knocked him down. There's only one official knockdown in his career, and it was because he bounced off the ropes when Jose Cotto hit him with a hard shot to the chest.
At the same time, Jim also spoke highly of Terence Crawford's fighting style, drawing comparisons to the legendary Sugar Ray Robinson. He noted that Crawford is well-rounded, with impressive offensive and defensive skills, and has a fierce inner drive that allows him to take over when it matters most in a fight.
I do like him against Bud Crawford, but I do think that it's a great fight. Now, I could change my mind when we get closer. Bud Crawford, to me, is a latter-day Sugar Ray Robinson. He has the multiple skills of Sugar Ray Robinson. He can defend or attack. He has a deep inner mean streak that he can employ at any moment in a fight to get what he wants. Before the fight.
Jim Lampley also shared his perspective on Terence Crawford's pivotal bout against Errol Spence. While many had picked Spence as the favorite, Lampley admitted he had sided with Crawford, noting the dramatic shift the fight took. He went on to commend the highly anticipated matchup, describing it as a clash between two elite fighters, a cerebral showdown featuring two of boxing's most skilled professionals stepping into the ring to test each other.
Before the fight against Errol Spence, there were quite a lot of people in the sport, in boxing media, who were saying, I like Spence to win the fight. I was one of those people who said, no way. Errol Spence doesn't have the depth and the intellectual understanding of prize fighting to beat Terence Crawford, who is the great professional of his era, along with Canelo Alvarez. That's why that's such a great fight. They are the two living, practicing ultra professionals in the sport. They know it inside out. And one way or another, it's going to be a spectacular intellectual matchup.
Meanwhile, Rolando Raleigh Romero, sharing his thoughts on Canelo versus Crawford, went off on Canelo. He expressed his desire to see Crawford beat him, noting that although there is a weight division difference, he would still like to see Canelo lose. He justified this by pointing to Canelo's last fight with William Skull, calling it a disrespectful performance and a disservice to the sport of boxing.
Canelo. I hope Crawford beats the shit out of him.
Really? Yeah?
Now, I'll tell you like this, I mean, the weight division things, but I hope Crawford beats the shit out of him.
Why do you want to see Crawford beat the ish out of Canelo?
I just hope Crawford beats the shit out of him.
Why? Like Canelo, is it because of the last fight? Like you haven't been a fan of Canelo, or like why? Like you like Crawford that much? Took your coffee.
What Canelo did on that day was disrespectful to boxing.
Reflecting on the potential matchup, Wade Plemons shared his thoughts, noting that Canelo brings several challenges with his physicality, while Crawford enters the fight with strong competitiveness. Despite both fighters having impressive skills, he emphasized that Canelo holds the upper hand in several key areas.
While again, it shows me that there are so many big hurdles between the physicality that Canelo brings to a fight and the competitiveness that Crawford would be able to provide. 2 more weight classes up from where he struggled at 154. And also I think Canelo has multiple styles in which he can fight as well. Offensively, on the front foot, defensively, counter puncher, lead the action. He's got all that in the bag, even if he hasn't shown it recently. I think that Team Canelo probably looks at that Crawford fight, and as much as we're all looking at it and going, man, that might not be as competitive, or that's probably not something Crawford should do.
At the same time, Stephen Edwards shared his thoughts and confidently picked Terence Crawford to beat Canelo. He cited examples of past boxing matches where weight differences didn't result in missed matches, arguing that skill can outweigh size. He went on to praise Crawford, asserting that he sees him as the only fighter capable of defeating Canelo.
You know what I mean? Not a whole lot, but I don't see the guy. That's why I picked Crawford to beat him. I don't see the guy from 2020, 2021, the guy that was to beat Caleb, to beat Billy Joe Sanders and Callum Smith.
Yeah.
That guy right there, to me, that was the apex of his career.
Yep.
That was right there.
Yep.
He was right. That guy right there, he gonna have trouble with it. He give anybody in history a super middleweight a tough fight. Right now, I see him slipping a little bit. And it's a game of inches. It's not a big difference between an A fighter and an A+ fighter. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a difference between a guy who's a title holder and a guy who's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Like, let's just think about Tim Bradley's a Hall of Famer, right?
Edwards noted that in a fight, anyone can get hurt, but he highlighted the exceptional ability of Terence Crawford. He asserted that Crawford is an incredible puncher who can land his shot at any moment.
He was right. That guy right there, he gonna have trouble with it. He give anybody in history a super middleweight a tough fight. Right now, I see him slipping a little bit. And it's a game of inches. It's not a big difference between an A fighter and an A+ fighter. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a difference between a guy who's a title holder and a guy who's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Like, let's just think about Tim Bradley's a Hall of Famer, right? How much of a difference is between, let's say...
Stephen Edwards further noted that while debates continue over who is better, he has arrived at his own analysis. He emphasized that Crawford possesses an exceptional ability to land punches with shock value. He described Crawford as a fast puncher with outstanding athleticism, capable of asserting his dominance against any opponent.
Because you know, there was a Crawford little boots thing going, boots back and forth, like little debates on who everybody throws better.
Right.
And Karan was telling me, he's like, Boots is faster, he probably punches harder.
Right.
But Crawford hits you with shots that you don't see more,
right,
which have a different kind of effect. He's like, Crawford, you gotta be like, oh shit, like it's a different kind of punch. He's like, if they were just, both of them was punching in your face, he's like, Boots probably, I know Boots is fast, he probably punches a little harder, but Crawford hits you, he's like, I could see Boots' shot coming. He said, Crawford stuff, you don't see it. So that's the kind of shots that have like a shock value.
Echoing his belief in Crawford's ability, Edwards asserted that he sees a strong chance of Crawford hurting Canelo. He emphasized that Crawford has the skill to land punches between exchanges, and with his incredible ability to deliver unexpected shots, he could prove to be a serious challenge for Canelo.
Crawford has that really unique, like, sucker punch ability where he can hit you right in between your punches with shots that you can't expect. Those are the worst kind of shots. That's like me, like, hey Sean, you got a cigarette, man? And you go reach in your pocket to give me a cigarette and knock you out cold. You know what I'm saying? He has that ability. So I definitely think that that he can hurt Canelo. I definitely think he can hurt him. Canelo got one of the best chins I've ever seen, but I wouldn't like bet my mortgage that he can knock him out, but I do believe that he can hurt him. Anybody can be hurt, man, when you get hit with shots that you don't see. And James Toney hurt one of my favorite fighters, Evander Holyfield. And even though Holyfield was old.
Meanwhile, top-ranked manager Frank Staya shared his thoughts on the matchup, stating that he supports both fighters but leans more toward Crawford, as he has known him personally for a longer time than Canelo. He praised Crawford as a generational talent and highlighted his top ranking on the pound-for-pound list.
I know I've been around Canelo a few times, but as far as a relationship, I don't know him like that. I just seen him in the gym train a few times. He's been in this gym a couple times. But I know Terence Bud Crawford on a personal level, and I've known Terence over a decade. So I've always, even as he was a prospect with under 10 fights, I always thought one day he was going to be one of the best fighters in the world. And right now, he's arguably pound for pound #1. I have him in a way kind of rotating depending on who's fighting. The most recent on who's number one, but Terence Crawford is a generational fighter, probably the best pound-for-pound fighter over the past 5 years.
Frank Staya went on to assert that this fight is a great opportunity for Crawford to cement his legacy in boxing. He predicted that Crawford will score a stoppage against Canelo in this matchup, which would further solidify his position as one of the sport's elite.
And you know what a fight that is for him and Canelo, Allegiant Stadium in September, Mexican Independence Day, another Mexican holiday. I love it. It's a big event. Maybe I'll show up in attendance for something like that. It's a big stadium. I don't know if I want to get caught in all that traffic and that chaos and all the germs that dirty people bring around with them. So, but but for real, I'm excited about it, and I think this is Bud's time to cement himself. I think this fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo will solidify the #1 fighter of this generation.
Who do you think wins?
I like Crawford. I like Crawford either.
At the same time, Staya noted that the outcome could vary. Crawford might make Canelo quit in the ring or secure a stoppage, but ultimately, he believes Crawford will win by unanimous decision. He also stated that this fight will be much easier for Crawford than many people expect, despite the perception that it will be a tough challenge.
I think he has the ability to make Canelo, overwhelm Canelo, and make Canelo quit, maybe in the corner, maybe even stop him, maybe even shock us. It would be a shocker if he knocks Canelo out, but I think it's a possibility. But ultimately, Terence Bud Crawford, unanimous decision. I think it's going to be a much easier fight than people think.
Antonio Gates also predicted that Crawford might succeed in outpointing Canelo. He went on to praise Crawford's fighting skills, which he believes will be key in this matchup. However, he also acknowledged that Canelo's power will be a significant challenge that Crawford will need to overcome first.
Terence Crawford, Canelo.
Yeah, I believe Terence Crawford is going to be in top shape, and I believe he's good enough to outpoint Canelo. But I believe the power would be a challenge, if you will. So I'm going to say Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford?
Because I think Terence Crawford is the best boxer in the world.
One ring, two legends. A clash that could reshape boxing history. Will Crawford defy the odds, or will Canelo's power reign supreme? Let us know your prediction in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the biggest fight breakdowns and boxing debates. Until next time, keep your guard up and your passion stronger.